Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Jay's Today. Today, we have a great show planned for you. I'm Jasper Wilson. This is Claire. We're going to be bringing in football player Blake Guthrie and band teacher Braden Wipperman.
All right, let's get into it. Let's start out with some recent volleyball. Last week, volleyball played Carlisle, who is number 12 in 4A. They took the game to 5 sets. It was just an electric matchup.
Yeah, that's the first volleyball game I went to this year, and it was a great experience. Everyone seemed super into it. The crowd, the players, everyone was having a good time. It was great volleyball to watch.
They ended up with the loss, but it was still a super impressive matchup. We have Kai Ahrens with 38 assists, and a little shout out to her. She also hit 500 career assists last week, and she was a Prep Digs nominee for Player of the Week, so that's pretty big. Grace Wignall with 15 kills, Nora Dotson with 14, Chloe Thurlby with 15 digs, and Haley Mullen with 16 digs. Overall, pretty great performance by everyone.
Yeah, that's super cool. Girls are starting to heat up, and that took them into the tournament last weekend where they faced Xavier, who's a very highly ranked team, and they also played North Scott and did pretty well. Took them to 3 matches. The max amount of matches in tournaments is 3, and they took them to 3. So
yeah, they go best of 3 sets, and so they played North Scott, number 1 in 4A. They took them really close in that second set, and they only lost by 2. It was a 20-22 game. Then they took on Xavier, number 2, like you said. They took Xavier to 3 sets, which is really impressive for them. And they only lost the third set by 2 points. It was a 13-15 game. Pretty crazy. But then they got their feet under them, and they got number 13 for a DCG. So that's a really good thing for them. Yeah,
good win.
Volleyball right now, they're middle of the Raccoon. They had all these hopes of kind of going undefeated in the Raccoon. Took that loss to Carlisle, but I think that's just one small little hill because they've only played 2 Raccoon games so far. They can still come out on top on that.
Yeah, I agree. Once they get deeper into conference play and go on a roll and just keep winning.
Overall, they're getting better playing all this higher competition. Their record might not reflect it, but they are a really good team, and they're going to continue to thrive as the season goes on.
Upcoming games for them include a tournament in Nevada this weekend, and then October 1st will be senior night. So everyone should pop out to senior night to support our team.
All right, let's move into cross country. They've had a few meets within the last few weeks. Let's start off with winter set. We had Niall as an individual champion. Super hilly course, but we had all of our boys medal in the top 20, and they took home the team championship. So
that's massive that they took home that championship because winter set is also the course where the Raccoon River Conference meet is at.
Definitely is. So just getting that opportunity to see the course and just get that experience, we'll have a leg up against some of the other Raccoon teams. We had Lauren at 13th. Like I said, it was a super hilly course. You can't necessarily compare the times from the weeks before because every course is different. It's 3.1 miles, but just the difficulty of the course was way up there. Like you said, they're back for conference, so they're going to come back and have some experience on that course. The next meet, Ballard, both sides, they didn't have the full strength of the lineups, but they still competed pretty well. It was super hot, 90s, just not great race weather, but you got to power through it. Like I said, you can't compare the times because 1, that's a super difficult course, and 2, it's super hot outside. Each meet is its own, but our boys team and girls teams were still pretty competitive. On the boys side, still got 3rd of 19 teams, behind number 3 and number 7 in 3A, and 20 points from behind ADM. So what that means is 20 points each runner coming in. You get the points for placement. If we would have had full strength of the lineup, that's a pretty easy swing right there.
On the flip side of Winterset and Ballard being tough courses, on Thursday, the boys and girls are going to go to Roland Story, which is supposedly an easier course. So hopefully get to see some people hit some new PRs.
Yeah, definitely. Roland Story is one of those courses. It's just super flat, and with the conditions this week, it's going to be perfect weather. I can see some good PRs coming out and just some improvements on school records from Niall, and we could possibly see a school record from Lauren Watson there.
Jays Today is sponsored in part by the Bondurant for Our Athletic Booster Club. Consider becoming a booster sponsor today. And if you're at the football game on Friday night, check out all the sweet Blue Jay merchandise they have stocked at the Jay Shop. This podcast is also supported by Vision Bank. For more than 140 years, Vision Bank has maintained its commitment to helping build strong communities. They have been locally owned and locally focused since 1884.
What's up? Just you're still good for 215, right? That's not good. He's in Ankeny getting food. I literally talked to him about it today.
He punked you.
Bro!
Nice.
Bro, God. I was like, no way.
Hey.
All right, moving on. We've got football, and as you notice, we have a guest, Blake Guthrie, who is a running back.
Let's dig into the last few weeks. Football right now is 0-4, but week 3 matchup, Waverly Shell Rock. We were missing our quarterback, Jordan Ryle.
Yes, that's true. We ran the ball 40 times, and Riley Vanderlinden had at least 30 of those carries. So we were trying to find guys to fill spots, and we're kind of been banged up. But I think with guys coming back, we'll be good.
Yeah, we were 10 to 41 to pass and rush attempts. So having 10 pass attempts is a very low number for us. 1 completion to Cole for 15 yards, and we had freshman Riley Vanderlinden with 30 carries. He had 171 of our 196 rushing yards that game. That's just one crazy stat right there. We also, on the defensive side, we had Ryder Miller with the highest 9.5 total tackles.
Yeah, he's been killing it recently. And then last Friday, most recent Friday, they traveled to Lewis Central. And as everyone knows, Lewis Central is one of the best teams in the entire state.
Number 1 ranked.
Yeah, and we battled against them.
Yeah, all the way to Council Bluffs, 2-hour drive. I think we still came out pretty well. We didn't seem like we drove 2 hours. We got Jordan back. We went 11 for 25 passing. So that's actually more completed passes than we had attempts against Waverly, which is kind of crazy. But 165 yards passing. On the defensive side, we had Nolan with 12 tackles. And then back to offense, Jordan and Riley both had a rushing touchdown to get us our 14.
Yeah, and even with these early losses, I'm not worried at all. I was looking at the stats. Our average loss or deficit is only 7 points, and we've played 4 ranked and really good teams so far. So going into district play, I think we'll still be good.
Even though we're 0-4, I don't believe that our record reflects our skill or potential going into the rest of the season. We make sure that some of our guys are less banged up, get some of our personnel back, and I think we can come out strong going into districts.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I would agree too. You know, playing 4 ranked teams is always a rough way to start the year, and I mean, I think we had the number 1 hardest schedule, so that's always tough. But I think like we've battled through each game, and I mean, we've definitely proved that we're a tough team. So even though our record doesn't show it, I mean, we put in hard work, so I'm not worried at all.
All right, still plenty of time left going on in the season. How do you guys bounce back from some of these losses?
Yeah, I mean, been a little rough start in the year, but I mean, each 11 guy on the field is there for a reason. So, I trust them, and I know Fonts does. And, I mean, our whole coaching staff, they're doing a great job. So, and, I mean, we're putting in hard work. I think you should keep going, keep grinding, and then it'll show.
How are you guys adjusting to these early injuries?
It's next man up mentality, right? So, somebody gets hurt, next guy up, right? And it is difficult because you practice with the same guy each week, Same guy each plays the same position, same play. So you get used to it after a while, but if somebody goes down again, next man up, right? You got to be ready and then make sure that you do your job well, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, going forward, who are some names that we should continue to be on the look for? Like, who are some big impact players?
Jordan and Riley, they're playing great, and I believe and I know that they'll continue to play great. They're a bunch of good athletes, so that'll be good. On the offensive side, we got Parker in there at fullback, so maybe be ready for something with him. I don't really know. Defensive side, Nolan, he's been playing really good. So again, keep watching him. Parker, he's a great edge rusher, some really good athlete to have on our team. So I think he'll be good for us. And then again, Ryder and Chase at linebacker make a lot of tackles. So just keep watching them. Last couple of weeks, our secondaries played really good. So, I mean, that Boone's in there, Jordan's in there, Riley's in there, and I think they're all doing a great job. So, keep looking for them.
How do you feel moving into district play?
Like I said, I'm not worried. We do have a tough schedule, but with each game, we're getting better. We're learning, and with all of our losses, I mean, we're winning something, So, I mean, we just got to keep winning on plays and keep trying hard, keep going hard, and we'll be fine.
So we got 2 home games in a row. What can we expect?
With 4 losses, everybody on the team is ready for a win. And these next 2 weeks, they're going to be Newton's good, and Hoover hasn't been good in the past, but it's homecoming. So we're going to go up there and we're going to show out against both of them. And, yeah, you can expect something. So, pack the stands. It's going to be good.
Now, welcoming to the show, Braden Wipperman, who is the current band teacher. Tell us a little bit about how you became a band teacher.
Yeah, I think my interest first happened in high school. I initially, in my head, decided I wanted to be a lawyer. But after my freshman year, I was selected as a drum major for our marching band as a sophomore, and I remember leading a sectional over one of our camp times, and I asked the group that I was working with to just grow their volume, and all of a sudden it happened and it did it, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I just told all these people who were my peers to do something, and it worked. And I think that was one of those moments that just kind of hooked me in. I was like, this is cool. I want to do this for a while. So
you say drum major. Explain that to me. I don't know what that is.
Okay, so the drum major is basically the student leader up on the podium in front of the band as they're going through marching, waving their hands. The goal from our side, from a marching band side, is the teachers and directors and all that stay out of the way, so that the full performance then becomes something that's totally student-led, student-run, and the adults kind of stay out of the way. So the drum major is the one up on the podium, waving arms, doing that. They got to learn how to conduct. They usually have good leadership skills, good communication skills, all those sort of things coming through.
What really goes into band that we may not see from the outside in?
Okay, so from the outside in, looking at it, you've got, the students out there playing instruments, moving around the field somewhere, and that's kind of that, right? But in reality, everybody out there in the field has to know their music. They've got to get their music memorized. Everything they do out on the field, it's basically a whole nother set of instructions or things to memorize. Every single student out there has their own what we call coordinate sheet. So, think to math class on your coordinate plane. We turn the football field into a big coordinate plane, and they have a spot where they go to for each picture, essentially, in the show. So this year, we have 55 what are called sets or different pictures that not only do students have to memorize their music, They've got to memorize those locations. And once they do that, it's kind of you use your peripheral vision, you use those skills around you, you're making sure you're stepping in time, you're making sure your relationship between you and the person next to you is good, you're making sure that you're playing the right notes and the right rhythms and the right volume all at once. So it's really being out there from a musician side, it's the kind of the ultimate goal of how much can I adapt and do things on the fly and make sure this performance is good and really like comes to fruition in the way that we want it to. So not only that is it from a musician side, but we've also got kids down in the front playing instruments in the pit. We've got color guard members who are doing the whole sort of thing on the field again, learning locations, but they're doing this flag work and dance work with a flag on a 6-foot pole. So not only are they learning those locations, but they're having to learn visually kind of what goes in. So like the whole show in and of itself then becomes a whole bunch of different parts and components put together. One of the things I really like to talk about is how like in math class, it doesn't matter a whole lot if the person next to you understands what the quadratic formula is, right? So in band, your learning is super dependent upon the person next to you. If the person next to you isn't there, all of a sudden you're having to make sure your spacing is still right and you're going to the right spot and you're doing the right stuff, but then they're not contributing musically, so it changes the balance, it changes what you're hearing around you. So the real dynamic of it is just, there's a lot going on at once.
Mm-hmm. And you kind of construct this, like you said, one big show. And each year it's kind of a theme. This year's theme is Shattered. What really goes into creating that show?
So we started thinking about shows. We ended up picking this one, I think in November of last year. We're thinking that far ahead. Looking at the way the show was put together, and you know this kind of glass idea. It's 3 pop tunes this year, which is something we haven't done. Partially because copyright fees are pretty expensive for pop music. But we started brainstorming ideas of what our take on it is going to be. We started meeting with the people who do the writing for the moves on the field, what we call the drill, and some visual people, I think, in March. And we were meeting pretty much every other week at that point, kind of discussing things, laying things out, coming up with this. We're going to get a mirror to shatter on the field and kind of looking initially at this inward feeling, and then as the show comes together, it becomes more bringing people like back together. So our plan is to have the mirror get reassembled in a different way. So you have to think through all the processes with that. You need to think about the logistics of who's moving where on the field and how we can kind of tell that story via music, via movement on the field, via whatever props. There's a large bridge that we're using as kind of a way to build connection. As a visual, we had some great parents work to create this bridge structure kind of out of nothing. So all this kind of happens, started talking in November through March, working on these things over the summer, trying to put it together. And then when everybody shows up for camp in August, hopefully we've got everything figured out and we can start putting things together and teaching it.
All right, so I've noticed a couple differences during football games seeing you guys perform. So as the season gets on, does the show change?
Yeah, it does. There's a lot of variety that kind of creeps its way in. We meet for camp in August for 5 days, and we learn some foundational skills. We learn our pregame stuff. We put maybe the first 20 to 25% of the show on the field. Then we're kind of off for a week and a half until school starts, at which point we continue to learn and add on to the show. So like, for example, this year, by the time we hit the first home football game, we had basically had a week of school. So we only performed our first song out of the 3 for that one. Last football game, we added a second song to it. This coming Friday, you'll see a percussion feature in with it and what we call our closer or our final piece. So we're continually, as we go through the year, learning more and more of those moves on the field. We're making our music better. The other thing we do for the stuff we know, and I think that'll start to creep in here a little bit this next week, the stuff we know and did for the first show, we'll start to add more things to it. There'll be more visuals to it. There may be some more dance stuff that gets added to it. The the band world has kind of moved into a little bit more dance stuff now, so we'll work to add some of those things to it. And then some of the more subtle stuff that, you may or may not see is hopefully by that time our music has gotten cleaner sounding. It's hopefully got a little bit more volume and dynamic impact. Our lines hopefully have gotten a little cleaner. Our arrivals, like our marching technique, has hopefully gotten better. So that's some of the little more subtle stuff. But the big stuff is the show's gotten longer. We've added some more visuals, and that comes with it a need for some increased stamina from students. It's really fairly demanding to be out there for 7 to 10 minutes, moving around, playing an instrument to the right spots, adding some dance and choreography moves to it. So we need to work and progress and build up those students physically so that they can make that happen.
Yeah, definitely. Friday nights are definitely not the same without band. They kind of help make that environment of a Friday night football game. But other than that, like, where else are you guys performing and competing?
We really like to be part of that Friday night atmosphere. I think halftime is really, really good. The dance team is fantastic. I think we do a pretty good job of putting on a good show. So it's fun to be a part of. We actually start our competition schedule this week. We travel to Urbandale. So basically, a whole bunch of bands go out and they do their shows, and there are 6 judges, and each judge has kind of a different category that they go through and give a score and a rating based on performance and execution and all those sort of things. And then basically within each class, 2A, 3A, 4A, rank and score for a second, third. So we'll do that at Urbandale this coming Friday. No competition during homecoming. But the following week, we'll travel to Valley Fest and play at Valley Stadium. And then the following week, what'll be our last week of the season, we travel to the Music Association's state contest in Waukee. And then we wrap up our season that evening at the Mid-Iowa Band Championships. New to us this year is we're a 4A music school for the first time. Bondurant's growing, and with that comes, more students at the high school. Different cutoffs than like the boys athletic association or the girls union. Once we hit 600 number and you clear, we become a 4A school. So we're basically competing against the Waukees and the Ankenees and the Valleys of the world now. So it's the big time, I guess.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on and telling us a little bit about band.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Good luck to the rest of your season.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, whether it's YouTube or Spotify. We really appreciate all of you. Don't forget to follow all of our socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Jay Digital.
Also, make sure to go follow on Instagram CM Media Productions and Jasper P. Wilson. Also, one more note, please go to the football games.
We'd love to see you there on Friday, but if for some reason you can't make it there, we will be live streaming at bluejaydigital.org.
Same goes with volleyball, too.
And remember, it's a great day to be a Blue Jay.